Great. All right, ladies and gentlemen, great to be in session today. Marty, thank you so much for the welcome. And we are in the home stretch for day one. And most delighted on behalf of Covenant Venture Capital, our dear colleagues and team, to have a special dialogue with you. The topic for today is AI in venture. So the materials we've prepared will have a focus on building your intuition on artificial intelligence. Both will be helpful for you in the day-to-day as artificial intelligence disrupts entire segments of our economy, and also for your dinner table at home with friends and family as the topic comes up again and again. I remember a few years ago I had an exchange with Gary Kasparov, and he said, for every 10 AI experts, you will have 20 AI definitions. And it is my hope during our time today, as we build up our collective intuition on the topic, you'll have one that is substantive and useful. So with this, I'll share a few key images and welcome questions as we proceed along. So it's great to be here in New York. I've attempted with our team to place our logo accurately. We're on the 85th floor there of One World Trade. And this site for me, as I imagine for many of you, is quite a special one. I just moved to New York right before 9/11. And like my father before me working in the Empire State Building, special things and historic things can happen here in New York. With us in session, I'm most delighted to convey, we have Carl Douglas, our chairman, and I would highly encourage you to say hello if you get the chance over coffee as we're all together here. Our firm has both a strong finance and scientific focus. With our dear colleague Carl, who will be in session tomorrow on a panel, absolutely tremendous professional background in Solomon Brothers and JP Morgan. And as we're getting all acquainted here, my own background is that of a scientist. So at Covenant, we back science-based ventures. We'll get into this later when we discuss the private equity shift from the public markets in particular. Most recently, I had the chance to catch up with a few old government research contacts. So in South by Southwest, okay, perhaps that was artificial intelligence attempting to join us there. And South by Southwest with DARPA. So when the US was spooked by Sputnik, two organizations were born. One of which was DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, which has been key to everything to GPS, the internet, and the surge in computer vision, which is really anchored the develops in artificial intelligence we see today. The other organization there that was born in that same moment was NASA. As a scientist and an investor, I have the distinct privilege of serving on one of NASA's boards, specifically the one related to space health and how data impacts our health in those increasingly unknown situations. So perhaps one day your children or your grandchildren will say it is time for a space tourism holiday. And at the Institute, we focus on things such as astronaut performance, as well as tourism safety. And at Covenant, we similarly take a long view in terms of where advanced technology areas are going. And during our presentation today, you may very well hear assertions you'll hear for the first time. As we have space and rocket ships go very fast, with some colleagues, we had done some marquee work for Sir Richard Branson's Formula E team. So what you see in front of you is actually an electric Formula car. And there in 2019 and 18 in particular, we developed not an LLM, which you may be hearing of quite a bit, a large language model, but a LAM, a large action model. And to provide a competitive edge for the team, we would run simulations on how the competitors on the track would react to different moves by the drivers. This system we developed was credited in supporting the wins in Paris and the New York E-Prix. All this to say, as we're getting acquainted, it is our honor to share some of our experience on the front lines of AI, as well as what we're seeing managing portfolios and supporting our companies. One thing as a scientist I find most intriguing is the order of timescales. So right here in New York, we have the emergence of fantastic technology in terms of the urbanization, specifically the automobile. So here you see a motor car in 1900 surrounded by horse and buggies. And not quite 13 years later, on Fifth Avenue, you have the exact inverse, where you can spot one horse and buggy. The assertion I'll make to you in 2024 right now, we're probably akin to 1904. So the question of what holds with things such as generative AI, I believe will be quite fantastic. And so we're living in the same way our ancestors and family lived through this moment in time. We are going through one in 100 years that will be similarly reflected. Here, if we consider 2050, what technologies do we need for having a moon base, specifically one planned via the current Artemis missions, or here as depicted in an artist's rendering for a Mars base? Well, there's a few things here that relate to AI and sustainability as well. So we have in the foreground a rover, and indeed we're quite proud in our portfolio to have Dr. Paolo Perjanian, formerly of NASA JPL, leading a robotics company, but a robotics company not for Mars, but for the home in place. So advances on artificial intelligence vis-a-vis sensory processing is quite advanced now in robotics. Now, on first blush, the dome there might seem nearly comical to feed an entire city. However, just 2 weeks ago, I visited a pipeline company called Air Protein, which is using NASA-based tech, specifically in the same way beer or yogurt is made. You have microbes plus an energy source transforming the food. They have the capability with CO2 energy source to make protein. So in a plant about the size of this floor and another floor for verticality, you could replace 100 hectares of agriculture. And so these are the things we look at Covenant in terms of, well, what are the trends that are emerging? Now, what I want to jump to specifically is a topic around our sensory perception. Often in superficial discussions around artificial intelligence, this area is missed, overlooked, or not well understood. So you may often see written in media, AI and ML, the ampersand there. There's a structural flaw there in terms of how those two distinct technology areas support each other. And specifically, there's the key area of machine perception that is missed. So let's go through a few examples here. So firstly, Marty, great to see the profile there. I feel inspired. So when we consider artificial intelligence as per systems that can help us make decisions, And indeed, AI systems, when they generate content, is actually a sequence of decisions. If we consider the text, and invariably a number of you or most of us have worked with chat-based interfaces. Well, let's take an example. Who here has used ChatGPT or Perplexity or something else? Let's have a show of hands. It's a fascinating market penetration, if you will. Just a few years ago, this would be the complete domain of only researchers in the area. So what I want to impart here is even the predictions of word to word are capped on a vocabulary. So generative AI is actually decision-making and constructing the content. So you have emergent behavior there. It's an important thing for understanding how to use and attack such systems even. The layer below artificial intelligence is machine learning. That's my qualm with the ampersand. So here you have a system that can help us find patterns in data. And as you saw in the Formula E example, and as we review some examples from our portfolio, that pattern detection capability actually has analogs to human senses, which gets us to machine perception. So DARPA, nearly 20 years ago, spurred a key advance in AI, and this was the autonomous vehicle challenge. In first year, the cars would quite literally crash into each other. You would have all sorts of fun characters as well. You had one semi that was named Optimus Prime. There was a Ghost Rider variant. There was a dune buggy that kept flipping over. However, in just a matter of 3 years, the cars began to compete quite effectively. And so this system for autonomy in vehicles, which is yet to be fully realized, relates to our sense of sight. So human sight as related to computer vision. And indeed, in my academic work, I've spent many years understanding our human vision as related to computer vision. In particular, we have some intuition about this. For example, when you walk into a room here, could be this very room this morning, where you may have recognized a friend or a colleague, but you could not fully identify them. We know those are distinct processing steps in the brain, specifically a P300 signal. So we can tease apart these processings and put them into machines. The reason I'm going through these details is that unless an investor is engaging on this level of detail, it's very easy to get tricked around whether an R&D team exists at that target company. So one of the things we do at Covenant is quite literally visit the robotics labs, the AI centers, assess the intellectual property and the team's capabilities. After vision, we have our next sense, which is hearing. So the analog there is computer audition. And indeed, in quite a striking way, there is voice avatars emerging, both for digital workers, as well as increasingly advanced fraud. These technologies are being brought to bear in fantastic and very striking ways, as with any fantastic technology, such as nuclear energy. And the last is our sense of smell. Now, in the same way we now take for granted cameras being reactive, in the future, cameras will be proactive in terms of identifying risks in a hospital. Has someone fallen down? Does there need to be help? The driverless car example is most pronounced. In terms of the sense of smell, there you have computer olfaction. In the future, robots will have a sense of smell.
There's about 5 minutes left.
Good. Thank you, Martin. So with this, I want to convey a few additional points related to our investment approach here. Firstly, is that we are seeing a massive shift, one, due to the rise of AI, and two, related to the delayed IPO window. So one thing we have been seeing as a firm, and here we have an example, which is the Yale endowment, where in this stacked area graph, you can see the composition around venture, in particular, the purple bar being less than 5%, migrating up past 20%. So this shift we've seen percolate into family office as well as some of our clients on the sovereign wealth fund level. For example, last week we were in the state of New Jersey, where Covenant is listed as part of the Evergreen Fund initiative around how to mobilize a state's resources to become an AI center. And a very similar dialogue in the UAE with the Dubai Future District Fund. This is one signal we are seeing very pronounced here. And here, as I noted, our association with the New Jersey EDA. The one additional example I would like to highlight here very briefly is in addition to the private equity shift, we have also increased interest in private credit. As businesses are emerging in increasingly exotic niches, and you have a consolidation in banking, you have a squeeze on credit. So as a result, we as a team are able to service this market as well. So with this, the rise of AI are tracking in terms of diligence of the target companies, whether it is embodied with Moxie's robot as a tutor, whether it's Gecko Robotics in terms of infrastructure inspection, whether it's Pixar in generative AI, we're seeing portfolios be transformed as well as entire industry sectors. This last visual I show relates to our portfolio approach on the private credit fund around hyper-diversification. So with that, I very much appreciate the forum today. Thank you for your time.
Oh, let's have some questions. Okay, guys, another fund, have Adam. So you're raising how much?
Currently, we have 100 million approximately at AUM. We have a new equity fund, minimum target of 50 million.
So how many vintages have you had so far?
We have had 2 equity fund series and 1 credit fund series. So this will be fund 4.
And you're investing in C, Series A, what sector, what level are you investing, or vintage are you investing?
We are specifically our core thesis in the growth stage.
So Series B, C?
C plus, and in particular, we look to have companies that are at the intersection of VC and PE. And we do this via a trigger-based strategy.
So like 18 to 24 months before exit?
Sometimes it's even sooner, but our input to clients is not to have such a short view. Would be delighted to speak privately or offline. However, all of our fund products are designed to exceed 20%.
And what does the credit fund do?
The credit fund specifically looks at companies that are strong. They may be building data centers. They could be expanding sites, but will be unbankable in terms of a middle-sized bank or a large bank would not be able to do the underwriting in any meaningful amount of speed.
Are more of your investments in infrastructure or application?
Yeah, so we do like infrastructure. So we have, as an example, there is Zipline. We have positions in defense as well, and security, Anduril, SpaceX there, Gecko Robotics. So we like, in particular, infrastructure, health tech, and the energy transition.
What is the oldest fund?
Our firm was founded in 2020.
So did you actually fund in 2020?
We launched the fund with the Global Technology Fund as a series SPV.
Okay, and it's still existing fund.
Our second, we do our SPVs or special situations via the second fund.
So instead of funds, prior to this, they have launched special purpose special purpose vehicles that take in 10 companies apiece. So it's not really a fund, it's a special purpose vehicle. There's a difference.
Special purpose.
Right, because the SPV actually is transparent, whereas the fund is not transparent.
Yeah, we have different clients that will make different requests. Some via an SMA, a special mandate account, will have a strong AI focus and then access to our equity fund or credit fund. Sometimes we'll get a sustainability or a health tech mandate. So that's one of the differentiations as a firm as we engage with clients.
Armen,
Please.
your presentation was excellent, A+.
Thank you.
My question is, I saw things like, a racing car all the way to like a dome on Mars.
Yes.
Are you focused on existing technologies, evolutionary, revolutionary, or all three? Like, what is the focus of the approach here?
Yeah, I'll provide a very brief example via a position we've taken. So we're very grounded in technology being deployed today.
Yeah.
So we took a
Right,
position
growth
in
stage, so yeah.
in Gecko Robotics here. The robot has rare earth element wheels that are magnetized and an ultrasonic scanning array, not for human imaging, but for infrastructure imaging. So one could say that's far-fetched. We're tracking them when they're tripling a major revenue base. So probably on the edge of your question is the answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it isn't necessarily core AI, but AI related.
So to give on the point earlier, like in Pittsburgh, there is an elite AI R&D team. And before investing, we visited them. And that was actually one of the ways we secured an allocation. So $100 million Series C extension, 300 million was declined to enter. Covenant had access because we look, feel, interact, support companies differently. In this case, providing input on their next generation robot.
So I only have one remark to make and then I have a question. My remark is I have a master's degree in artificial intelligence a long time ago, and everything that we studied has come true.
Fantastic.
If you watched the Terminator. Everything has come true, whereas I have a master's in finance as well, and maybe 30–40% of it is about right, and a lot of it is kind of conjecture, right? Free markets, etc. So why didn't IBM win the AI race? Since IBM was the AI company for 10–15 years?
Yeah, I would say talent and culture. To pull off Gecko Robotics, Zipline, Next Roll, or even a Pixart, there's this point on the 10x developer. IBM can get typically 2 to 5x developers, but not enough 10x ones. And this is something I learned from my enterprise career, serving as a chief science officer for a 100,000 person organization. Even at that size, we could not do more than 5 really advanced things. And one of them was the Formula E. So, if IBM is 300,000, they really can't manage more, even at that scale, more than a dozen or 2 advanced things. So the rest will fall through the cracks regarding talent.
Yeah, but there is a big problem there in that thinking. That big problem is that the problem of the AI today. People who are IT people think that they are AI people. They're trying to switch over. It's a totally different kind of educational background. And so IBM could have 500,000 people that could never do the. It's like 500 canaries trying to sing with one cha-cha. This is a cultural problem. And I think we're going to deal with this problem. Not every IT guy is now an AI guy. They just don't have the background.
We see something analogous in investing as well.
I think AI is cataclysmic for a lot of people. I'm just looking for the bets are to make money. I'm serious. Seriously. I think the movie industry is going to be changed dramatically
Everything is
by AI. Because it's just everything will be pseudo-realistic coming out of movies. And the one thing that, you know, if you look at when they made the Star Wars movies, they introduced it like this artificial character so they could sell lots of dolls of that, puppets or whatever they call it, those action figures of that character, right? And they did. They were successful. It's like a movie dream to be able to sell action figures you don't have to pay royalties to. Excuse me, Len.
Have you seen Suno.ai?
What's that?
Suno.ai, you can make music. And
Oh, yeah,
really good music.
beautiful.
I mean, every song, you just have to write.
Send me the link.
Yeah, I will. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
amazing.
MIT's Eula was done with the song and now. I actually
It's intriguing times. I mean, there's some democratization, but at the same time, I think there's going to be a lot of catastrophic impact. I mean, people who make money from intellectual property, all of a sudden, that's going to move to the side because they're not going to have the ownership rights anymore because everything will be totally generated by the AI. So it's going to be very difficult to parse out everything. So anyway, any other questions? Nothing from the audience. So listen, great job. I think this is fantastic stuff. We're always looking to the future. So great job. Thanks.